Let's see if this works. It'll be a miracle if anybody finds me at this point. Which really pisses me off. You know? Like, what do you do when that happens? I mean, there's nothing much you can do. You have to get out of it. I mean, there's some kind of feedback loop going on. Nothing I could really do. All I could do is hope everyone finds me on this one. I'll wait for people to pop in. I think there are a couple people finding their way back. It's crazy, man. What can you do? It's technology. It gives me more of an opportunity to roll something special. We back, my man. So have you ever seen anything like that, Robbie? I mean, it's like, it was almost like I was hearing the live feed, but I didn't know where it was coming from. Like, even with the delay, because there's always like a latency delay with your feed, which I totally understand that. But why it was doing that and where it was coming from, I don't know. I mean, it continued doing it for like a couple seconds even after I canceled the broadcast. Another one of those things, it's funny. We were talking about this at a live event. Shout out Rubik's Groove. Shout out Brian and Todd, TJ, Phil, Bill, the whole crew over there, Stephanie. Anyway, we were talking about how you can have everything together. Let's say you're running a studio session, okay? Big important session. Maybe you have a bunch of slots filled, like where you have people who are going to be there. Different songwriters are cutting different songs. I've had this happen, right? Where 9:00 is going to be the first song, 9:35, 9:40, we're on to the second song, and the second songwriter's arriving. But the studio guys are there for a regular 3-hour session or whatever. You can test that thing until you're blue in the face, meaning all the mic cables, all the connections, all the DIs, everything that you're quote unquote supposed to check as an engineer. Make sure it's okay. Have somebody in there checking it, making sure everything's cool. Meaning, you brought somebody in there to play the drums while you're getting levels on the drums that at least knows how to play. And you could walk in the next day and there's a problem. Something that was working perfectly the night before or several hours before is now not working. And now you're under pressure to solve that problem, which, sometimes your brain freezes up when you got people who are getting antsy about why it's taking so long to do X, Y, or Z. And you're just sitting there like dumbfounded trying to figure out why something, what is wrong. But first of all, just sort of in shock because like you never expected for anything to go wrong because you just checked it. Same thing with this live stream. I was just on earlier this afternoon and I was making sure, that the microphone was working, that everything was sort of coming through, that the audio was coming through. And no problems. Everything was great. So all that to say, you never know. So my intro got screwed up and all that stuff from the beginning. So this is my long way of saying hello and welcome to the show. And yeah, I'm getting started. Let's get it cracking. Pre-420 show. We're going to rewind it right from It's the 420 show, everybody. It's the 420 show. Welcome. It's really 418 and we're celebrating early, so that's how we roll over here. What's good, everybody? My name is Ryan. I'm a Grammy-nominated producer and engineer, and you tapped in to the Hustle and Grow podcast. You did a good thing. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause. That's awesome, man. All right, so we're back. We had some technical issues, and I decided to just reset the whole thing. My man Rob is here. What's good, Robbie Cash? And I gave out a shout out to some of the other people, but I want to make sure I go through my list of characters. You know, it's Good Friday in the Catholic religion, or for Christians, I believe, and sort of an important weekend with it being Easter weekend, and I'm certainly thankful for a lot of the friends and the creative relationships I've developed here in Nashville and abroad, whether it's in a city around America with clients that come from all parts of the globe, and that's an incredibly special thing that music can do. So all that aside, I just wanted to say I hope everybody has a great weekend, and hopefully we're going to have a great hang together. We're going to talk about how we're revisiting getting, of course, we're always talking about how we can improve as producers and engineers, because we gotta be engineers as well. You know, you don't have to be. It doesn't mean you have to mix projects for your clients as well. Like, you want to stay in your creative lane as far as, let's say, you're a beat maker or whatever. That's cool. But do you not want your shit to sound as good as it possibly can? Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. And you don't want to have to outsource that to a guy like me and pay me money to make your shit sound good, right? I mean, that's what the artist is supposed to do after they buy your stuff. But how do they buy your stuff if your stuff sounds like absolute shit? Can't happen. Won't happen. I mean, unlike a lyric and a melody and something that can be timeless, meaning, you know, back in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, they didn't have the best recording equipment. They were just beginning to go into the forefront of all that technology, you know? But even with the advent of analog consoles and all that stuff, and now being in the digital age, somebody that's lived between the analog and the digital age, you know, I can tell you, while analog has amazing qualities, and I love the sound of analog, and I prefer it, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy the convenience or am not inspired creatively by all the shit we can do in the box. And that also doesn't mean you can't mix records and certainly make your beats sound good in the box. So that's why we talk about all those things. If anybody has any questions along the way, or has anything to add or contribute, or wants to share a personal story, maybe something we talk about sparks your creativity or sparks your memory as far as some kind of experience you had in the past, or some advice that you can pass on that would be useful. I am going to show you a couple scenarios tonight. I know I put in the quote-unquote advertisement for this thing that we were going to be talking about different workflows, how you get beats started. And we have touched on this in the past. So we're going to revisit that and, you know, just give you and remind you of some of the options you have and some of the things you want to think about when you're getting started creating. I would say, first of all, you know, what are the things you're thinking about when you start a project? How are you inspired? You know, in order for any of these things to happen, right? Let me make that a little bigger. What are the things you're thinking about when you start a project, and how are you inspired? Are you inspired by a sample you hear? Are you inspired because you've been flicking through loops on something like this? Like, maybe you're on Splice just going through all kind of different drum loops, and you hear something that inspires you and say, oh, okay, well, I could probably do this or do that. When I hear that, I think of Manny Fresh. Yeah, that definitely makes me think of that period of time. But anyway, you know where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying. I mean, how do you get it started, and what gets you going? We've discussed this in the past. We could start with samples. We could start with loops. We can go in and we can say, hey, I'm going to start with the drum loop that's going to get me started. And I'm pulling up a beat right now where I did just that, right? I took a drum loop that I thought was cool. I'll play that for you now. Right? That's the drum. And that drum loop got me inspired and turned into all of this, right? So that turned into, from just that drum beat, that turned into something that now I have that's workable, right? That's something I can work on and expand on because it gave me an idea, and I was like, oh man, you know what? I'll break it down for you exactly how it went down. I went over to the piano, and I basically said to myself, okay, well, okay. So we got our keys here, and I was listening to that drum beat, and I was like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm thinking about that melody, right? I'm thinking about, right? And I just kept on playing around with that. And I knew I wanted it to be simple. This is going up a pentatonic scale, by the way, a minor pentatonic. Right? So, C, E flat, F, G, B flat. So that was the idea for that thing. Okay? And all of that came from the drum beat, because the drum beat was, inspiring to me. Now, once I had that, I thought about what would be a cool bridge for that. What would be a cool second section. And I just went up like a blues progression would, and we went to the 4 chord, almost like a James Brown type thing. There you go. I'm bringing it back up for you right now. So we went to the 4 chord. We went from 1 to the 4-chord minor. So, boom, 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 right? And there's the whole melody, all from this drum beat. Right? Here it is. Right? I can't play, but aside from that. So all from that drum beat. So I added that in. I added the bass line. All right. So when we had the piano line and we have the drum or the bass, when we add the drums, now it starts becoming something, right? And when we look at our tubas, I want to see how I'm hitting that tuba. See, a little hot. I can hear it. I don't want to hit it that hot. I want to give some room. I don't mind hitting the C forward like that, but I want to have some headroom. Now, when we go to halftime, here's what I did. I took that beat and I just cut it in half. So that beat became this. You know how I did it? I went in here and I just hit the -2. And then I started playing around with some of the other, listen to the drum beat. Watch what we could do by just changing the motion. I could change it back to here. Or it could go forward and backward. Let the 420 shit start. Here we go. So, if I took that and I gave you that, maybe I want to go back to this one. I think it's a little cleaner. Let's hear what it sounds like if we add some bass. Oh, and a little mono synth line that came from right over here on that guy. One sound inspires another sound, inspires another sound, inspires another sound. And this wouldn't go on forever. This would be a brief interlude, because we want to get you back to the groove, right? But this is a nice little diversion until we come back around and hit again. And that's really the beat. That's the whole thing. And I did it all from just that drum groove that inspired me. Here it comes. Now we're back. Couple car screeches, couple crashes here and there. We're in business. Little down sweep. Now in context, when we come back, we go to halftime. Here we go. And we can put some delay maybe on that drum kit. What do you think? That's the synth line right here. There's our drums cut in half. What do you think? Fire, huh? Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just started working on that. But you get the idea, right, guys? I mean, you can just get inspired by just about anything. And, you know, then I started taking it a step further. I started saying, okay, well, I got this piano line. Wonder if it was be cool if I could take this simple piano line, let's solo it up, right? Let's take out the groove, because I started experimenting, look over here, with all these different groove possibilities. I happen to have from another company that has all the aggregate groove stuff, all the groove the groove element from these different boxes, right? Groove template, that's the word I was looking for. Groove templates. Have you ever heard of them? We'll see. Anybody ever heard of the company Mars? There's a company for you to check out. Mars drum samples. Little off the beaten path, but they have all kind of groove templates from all the famous drum machines. So as you can see, I got a Lynn drum machine. What do we have here? My God, I don't have my glasses on. I guess I should put them on, but. Okay, so we have an MPC 1 even. We have MPCs, all the range. We have all the TR, the Roland stuff, you know what I mean? 606, 707, 808s, 909s. All the groove elements, various swing feels from each one of these drum machines. So you're getting the best out of all these various pieces of equipment and extracting the groove that's been programmed into those particular machines, the groove that you're so used to hearing on some of your favorite shit that made it feel that way when you didn't even know what was going on, but you as a creative or a producer got excited by the way something sounded or by the way it was grooving or making you feel. There was a reason for that shit, right? It wasn't just the drug. It was other stuff as well. It's just a joke. All right, so you see how this goes, right? So all of a sudden that turned into a whole idea for me. And my next part was going to be, okay, take this synth pattern that we had here. This. Hi. Did you make it to town? Want to say hi, Alexis. Hi, Nate. What's up, everybody? The Louisville crew is coming to Nashville this week, which is pretty cool. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Right? Boom. I know what's some shopping. You're doing some shopping. right. Watch out, Nate. Feel me. I'm just kidding. Get some cool shit. Be safe coming down here. And this is the beauty, by the way, transitioning back to music shit. This is the beauty of Ableton. I love being able to switch through these scenes and hear what it sounds like when I experiment with this without committing to the arrangement over here just yet. I'm putting it together in my head by just allowing music to play. By playing different variations, by cutting shit off maybe earlier than you would expect. Maybe that's something I'll do. You know? Oh, that was something different. I forgot about that. Here we go. I feel you. All right, cool. Let's add a little delay to that because I forgot I even added that. Yeah, let's make it a little more mysterious, right? And if we take it here when we have a drum break, that might be cool. Like this. I'm going to take them down here, bring in, and here to the full one. Because this would be a drop in my mind. Bum, 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 right? Sounds good. Tell them I said what's up. It's nice having people checking in. Welcome all you guys to comment, ask questions, tell your friends about the show. If you have any audio questions, ask me. If you have any life questions, I mean, I can't promise I'll answer them, but I'm happy to listen. Listen, for 1 second, on all jokes aside, I mean, we make all these jokes about 420, and, you know, I gotta say, as somebody who is going to get yelled at by his mother at the age of 54 after if she catches wind of this episode, right? You know, I'm not an advocate of just, you know, cannabis just because of I want to be crazy and get baked all the time and be a maniac. It's quite the opposite, right? I mean, I'm an advocate of it for a lot of reasons. Medicinally, I feel like by just doing this one simple activity and partaking in that, I feel like it's organic and it's natural, and I feel like it really helps with my anxiety, with my overthinking. I think it helps with my, I don't know that it directly helps with your creativity, but I do know that it helps me sort of block some other things out that my mind would normally be thinking about and letting me get interrupted in the creative process. I don't know if anybody relates to that. Tell me how you feel. We are on the eve of 420. It's the big stoner's paradise, right? But you know, I just wanted to get that in. It's not all about, you know, yeah, it's relaxing. It's enjoyable for me personally. But I don't advocate, just like I wouldn't advocate somebody drinking and driving. And being somebody that lived, you know, just spent a lot of time in a bar earlier on in my years, you know. I've seen a lot of more bad shit happen when alcohol's been involved, and I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying, be responsible. Most people who consume cannabis are responsible. They do it in the privacy of their own home, or around friends in a comfortable setting. So, That's the end of my speech on that. But personally, it's my vibe, and it's what I enjoy doing. It's one of the few vices I have that I haven't cut out and stopped doing. Maybe one day I will. I don't know. I don't know. But until you can provide me with something better that's not in the form of a pill that helps me feel and overall feel connected, uh, I'm gonna stick around. I trust Bob Marley. I don't know. Something about that guy. Okay. We've established this sort of form of just getting inspired by one particular thing. Okay, cool. Let's go. Here's another workflow I was messing with today. I'm switching over. Excuse me. Yeah, when doing music, a blunt and a cup of coffee. Yeah, I mean, it used to be for me like I don't know, people. I don't know how honest people will be, just hopping on live stream, and especially if they don't know me. But first of all, the first thing I would say is, I've gotten a lot of this shit like, oh wow, dude, because I used to have a drug problem. I mean, for those of you that don't know, I mean, I had one of the worst drug problems as far as the choices of the DOA, the drug, or the DOC, the drug of choice, which was opiates and particularly, heroin. So I am a recovering guy that went down that road, which was the most devilish road you could go down, So, having said that, it's like the cannabis thing seems like pretty mild when you run comparisons on those two, But I will say that the music business is not like that. Those activities, that's what I was getting at. The crazy shit I did in my life and in my experiences were basically outside of the music game. The people I was hanging with were not good people. They were not productive members of society for the most part. They were all wrapped up in that particular environment. It wasn't like a creative environment like it used to be in the past, like the jazz days of Bird, Charlie Parker, and Coltrane and Monk and Dizzy and all these guys, and Miles and that whole crew. There was a huge culture for that back then. That was in the fabric or woven into the creative culture of the music and sort of the deep intellectual level that you were going down when you were playing that music. The difficulty of the harmony, of the melodic phrasing, of the just the ability to improvise over that music. All that shit was extremely complicated, and it sort of lended itself to this mysterious culture that existed around it when the drugs came into play as well. But I don't see any of that in the music business. I see a heavy dose of weed, you know what I mean? Like, healthy dose of weed, and unfortunately people smoking cigarettes, etc. But that's not a classified drug, and neither. I mean, I don't know what Tennessee's deal is here, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's not. I mean, hell, I have two boys, my two sons who are grown men, are working in the cannabis industry and getting paid by the state in Pennsylvania. So go figure. And they make a good living as well. It's a state job. It's like we used to joke about up north used to be the greatest thing when you were younger, when you were like my age, to get a gig on the turnpike, or on some kind of road crew where you're just holding a sign like slow stop. But the turnpike in particular, like rolling into a toll booth and just sitting there. Back in the day, that was a $20 an hour job when minimum wage was like $5 an hour. So it was like a score and a half. Anyway, I digress. All right, so look, if you look at the screen right here, this will be the last thing we talk about, and then I'm going to be splitting a little bit early tonight. We have, so check it out, we have nothing on the screen, right? Yet, we have plugins within here that have lots of stuff programmed, like Machine 3. This is an upgrade from Machine 2, so the GUI is a little different. So for those of you that are not accustomed, or that are accustomed, that are super familiar with that, with Machine 2, you're going to notice some differences. I've noticed some for sure. So one of the things is the way things are organized up here in this area right here. Here you go. Things that are organized up in this area are a little bit different. It still shows you all your groups, and you can filter those groups out depending on what you've got. Like you could see here, I have lots of groups. If I choose kits, I have a little bit less. If I go to instruments, I'm going to have a lot more. You see what I'm saying? You have access to the whole Native Instruments ecosystem. So, just so you know. So, all of a sudden, now, that empty project, I just pulled up something on the machine here in the browser. So I went to the browser, right? I don't know why I keep doing that. I went to the browser, and up here on my actual machine, I am just sort of looking for different kits, like maybe, show you here. But I could do that here on the machine. I could just go through the scroll right here. So I find something I like, right? Simple drum groove, right? But it was inspired by this kit. So now I could do something different and hopefully get inspired with something and add to this. For instance, turn those down a little bit. Here we go. I'll make another pattern. just duplicated the one I had, right? And we'll add to that. All inspired by just the one kit I picked that are right here on the E16 pads. All right, that's super dope, but I want to hear some delay on that thing. So I want to go into machine, and I want to just hit the plus sign here. You see how it gives me the option of going to either internally. I can pick from the effects that exist internally in this thing, or I can go to my audio units or VST3, whatever I choose to use. Basically the same, guys. Audio units are typically used with Mac. Logic Pro users will be familiar with the AAU setting instead of a VST setting. That's the only difference. VST3 is pretty much global. So we'll pick that. And we're going to pick one of our third-party delays. We'll pick Echo Boy Jr. If you haven't seen this is cool. This is part of Sound Toys effects bundle. And why isn't it coming up? I just picked it. Okay. Boom. There we go. Now we see it. Okay. So. What? Okay, now we can affect that delay however we want. We can add feedback. We can add saturation. We could filter out some of those highs. And we can look through all these. Sort of like that. I don't mind that. Let's hear what it sounds like in context. Here we go. What do you think? And we came from here. Just this. You like that? You know, just from that. And, you know, what happens next, who knows? So just cutting out the craziness. for this part. This part, we're going to get rid of those. That's it. Because we can add, as a producer, what are you thinking? Are you thinking that's it? Or are you thinking maybe, since we haven't even used anything in here, maybe there's something we can use that's going to give us I don't know, maybe it's going to enhance what the groove is that's happening in here. Maybe that's what all of these auxiliary channels can be. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, okay, so now we have a cool thing here. We have, okay, let's run through the patterns real quick before we wrap. We have, and we did all this by just picking a kit. So the point, my point is in the topic of the week is like, how do you start? What's your workflow? Is it sample based? Is it a hybrid of that? Because, like the first example we did, if you remember, the first example we did was like, right? That was the melodic idea. That was the thing I was doing at the beginning when we first started this thing. And, that all just came from this thing because, like, we went from boom, and then it's extended through that section. That's what I was thinking. And then come up with some kind of hook that gets you back to, right? So whatever the hook is, and that's what we ended up coming up with. We ended up coming up with something cool, from just something organically like that, from two basic chords. That's all we were talking about. We're talking about like C minor and basically F, nondescript F. That's it. Everything from that came from basically from just starting a song like you would start any other song. Now, this second one here, this came from pulling up a drum machine and scanning through a bunch of different kits and just coming up with something. Let's challenge ourselves right before we go out. This may be a huge dud, but I'll just show you what I typically do. I'll pop a different pattern or a different groove, and I'll mute the first one so nothing's playing, right? And I'll see if I could come up with something that's better than the other one that I had going. So we'll see, and I'll just scroll through and listen to a couple. I don't know. Pick one. There's a million that are fire, right? There's one. There's something cool, okay? Let's say it's that. Alright, I'll listen to the sounds. There we go. 2, 3. Two, three. Here we go. Here we go. that. But you get the idea, right? Pretty dope. All from one kit. Now, if I use that sound, which, let's say I do, because it's pretty dope. Right? Hey, man. What's going on, bud? How you doing? Dale Shackelford in the house, my man. So, we came from this. Right on this one, just as an idea, right? And then so we go through, and we got... all of a sudden, we abandoned the first one, which was also dope. Thank you. You're so kind. And then we came to this, and there's something fucked up about the, I don't like the kick. Man, I'm glad you stopped by. It's awesome you're here, bro. Dale Shackelford, everybody. Work with him at the barn, right? That's sort of like the meeting ground for a lot of relationships, that develop musically, at least for me, creatively. I mean, it's not like I haven't been other places, but a lot of cool people come through the barn. And, welcome to Dale. He's a member of the community, and we work together. We're working on a project right now, and super cool guy, and really, 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 sort of ahead of the game as far as like where I think about where I was when I was his age, and he's ahead of the curve, and just. Really, really on the money when it comes to with all things audio. So super glad to have him here, and also works as works at the barn as well with our buddy or our friend Joe West. Dale started there as a graduate from MTSU, but he could tell you all that stuff. If you ask questions or comment, and I should shut up because that way my chat blows up and people are talking over there. So get to it while I finish this off. Anyway, I want to say thank you to everybody, and I want to say happy Easter if you are, of that persuasion. And if not, doesn't really matter. Just hope you have a great weekend. And Alexis, Nate, and all my friends, Dale, shout out to Robbie Cash, shout out to Panama Quick, shout out to Tony Carpenter, shout out to King Doe and the whole crew, and to Looney, everybody at CODMG. Shout out to my man Derek Douglas, who was just here in person the other day. He came through the studio and is always online with us. And to Dale for stopping by, and Dale, you'll appreciate this. Jeff comes by sometimes, Jeff Doherty, and some of the other guys have stopped by as well, I think, on occasion. I don't know if they always comment, you know what I mean? But I think they've been here and checked it out. So we'll get back to more serious stuff last week. I mean, the title sort of was a tip-off. It was going to be a joke a little bit this week, but I wanted to give you some content and share a couple things that went through my mind from creative aspect as far as like when I'm starting and how I get started, and then what it evolves into. I also leave myself prepared. Like I obviously in this session, if you even look at it real quick before I leave, I was prepared to do some sampling because I had a few samplers loaded up. But it didn't work out that way. I started playing a groove, And that was basically it. Ended up being something that was, that was like evolved into something else. And don't forget, if we mute this and unmute this, we have, remember, take the click off. That was just the first pattern. Remember what that turned into? And then, remember? Then that. Then we have this. Remember, we were going to put some delay at the end of this. Yeah. So we had all that going on. Let's mute that. And then on the other one, we started that. So isn't that crazy? I almost forgot about the other one. And the other one has some phasey, weird shit going on, but you get the idea. We would fix that as we go. But we're talking about creative ideas and getting started. So, those are a couple of the ways I'll do it. Aside from the obvious, which, sitting down with just your piano and playing is obviously, or your guitar is obviously, a great way of starting any song. It depends what genre you're in, though. And it depends what you're trying to accomplish. And so, with that in mind, with the clientele I work with in the modern production space, it involves some sort of programming, whether it's in a indie vibe or a rock vibe. Although I didn't do any programming on the last rock project, but if they wanted it to go a different way, it could have taken a couple things. Some things could have been introduced, even soundscape stuff and effect stuff, just to make stuff more, bigger production feel. But it all depends on what the project needs and you want to be well versed in all those things if we're looking to be an all-around savvy individual when it comes to the creative world, especially talking about music and in-the-box music production, even more specific. So, anyway, thank you to everybody that stopped by. Don't forget, hit the subscribe, you know what I mean? I'm going to sound like everybody else, but yeah, I do appreciate that. If you do it, I have seen some monetization happen as far as Facebook's concerned, so I'm getting a whopping 56 cents or something like that every once in a while. So, if you could hook me up, and if you haven't subscribed like I do, I appreciate it. I mean, I think that goes without saying. I appreciate you stopping by and wanting to sort of like check out and see what I'm doing, and then contribute to the live stream by adding your perspective and where you're coming from. And that's it. It's informative for anybody from the beginning level to intermediate to hopefully people that are way more advanced than me. Jeff, I know, right? Super cool guy. Oh, man, that's super cool. Thank you. Really nice of you to say. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. Dale, I'm looking forward to talking to you soon, bud. As far as, we have been communicating, so I appreciate you stopping by. I guess that would have been a better thing to say. Nate, I know you are going to hear this, or you do hear me, so be safe. We'll see you guys here soon in a little while, or you know what I mean, over the course of this week. And yeah, we'll talk to you next Friday, barring any kind of crazy circumstance or anything, coming up. There's nothing on the calendar. Let me double check that. But while I'm saying that so, forcefully. No, I don't. I do have Alexis and Nate. I have something written on my calendar about that, but no, nothing else. Hey, my man, what's going on? I'll see you soon. All right, everybody, I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Be good to each other. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the holiday. Be blessed if that's your thing. And just be good to each other. Talk to you soon.